Hello and good morning, fellow flight simmers. Welcome back here to my channel. And I'm going to give you an update briefly. I promise I try and keep these videos short about where I stand with my 3 simulators. I think I've reached my first stage. I am actually, I have achieved what I wanted to do. And I show you very quickly what this is that I achieved. As I said, I would update my hard drives. That has happened. I've got my SSD. This is the Floozy, the Fluke simulator, flight simulator. SSD, it's a 1 terabyte. Well, effectively you have only about 900 megabytes plus minus. So there's quite a bit of capacity being used by other things or being blocked by other things. I've got my 4 terabyte hard drive, which, as you can see, is already more than half full. Although you can see it's actually half full because it only offers you 3.63 terabytes. There is quite a bit of space on such hard drives that get used up by other things and are blocked from being used for normal storage. So don't be surprised if you buy yourself a 2 terabyte or a 1 terabyte disk drive and you only got about 900 something, 931 gigabyte. Okay, so that's normal. It's not nice, but it's normal. It's just the way it is. And as I explained, I would be spreading things all over my disks. So here we go. This is the system drive. I have been cleaning up substantially, and I've freed it up because I had about 30 or 40 gigabytes left when I was finished. And that was really getting a bit close. This drive was already marked as red by Windows because Windows kind of takes, is it 10% or something of the overall capacity of a drive? And if you go under that, then it marks this drive as almost full red. So I cleaned up substantially. There was a lot of temporary and other things that I don't really need. I also moved downloads that I've done, freeware downloads for X-Plane. I also now have all the prepared downloads that I still have to process, which I downloaded on the other PC. I got that over, and these are now stored on one of the other drives, and I took them out here from the C drive. So this is now a comfortable size, and I'm trying not to fill it up more. From time to time, you also need to clean up system areas. There is a cleanup function. So if you if you go here to the properties, there is this bereinigen or cleanup or whatever it's written there. So that will offer you some options. You can delete internet caches, temporary folders, at least the official ones, the system ones. You can also delete restoration points of Windows. Just be careful with that. It always leaves the last one. But while you're doing substantial changes to your system, like I do at the moment, I actually produce more restoration points because you never know, Using restoration points, though, should be the last resort because you might find your system in a state that you didn't want to have it, which means, for example, something like the FS-2020 installation. Depending on how they do that, you might actually lose installations because restoration points remove things that had happened later. So just be careful. I had some surprises when I used restoration points. It fixed some things, but it kind of made problems on another end. So there is room for improvement on such a disk, and I used all of that, everything I know, every area I know that I can clean up. And yeah, as you can see, from just around 40 gigabytes, I'm back with 157, and that is about a third of my drive, and that's fine. Or pretty much. That's almost exactly like a third of my drive. That's very good. Now, volume D used to be down to about 600, 500 gigabyte, and it still contains a complete X-Plane installation, but I have moved all the X-Plane scenery files from there to drive E, because drive E, you can see that there, is now the scenery folder, including authors, and authors are the ones that really cover a lot of this space. So the big drive now, the 4 terabyte drive, houses all the authors I have created with Auto4XP and all the other sceneries, and I'm linking them into X-Plane. I'm going to explain these things in other videos step by step. There's an awful lot of things that I've done in the last couple of days. It's hard to explain all of that. Not everything might be interesting for you because I have my own philosophy. Yeah. So the prepared sceneries, now I'm not putting on E, I'm actually putting that on D. And why is that? Well, sceneries do have a lot of files, DDS files. It depends on what simulator world. So you end up with an awful lot of entries in your file, in your hard drive's file access table, or whatever that is called nowadays. And that doesn't make your drive faster, because it has to sift through more and more information. And therefore, I don't believe in using every little nook and cranny on your hard drive to store files. I spread them. So the prepared scenery files, which won't be that much. I'm definitely sure that I'm going to use most space for X-Plane 11 sceneries. Prepared, I'm only going to install assorted areas, because prepared won't be my main simulator. Prepared will be something that I test certain things with, that I experiment with, and also do try and flies and things like that. But I'm not going to fly visually there, because no matter how much prepared has improved, it just doesn't really come that close to X-Plane, and especially now the new simulator FS-2020, which was quite a pain. It took me a whole day, although I had DVDs. Yeah, as it turned out, my DVD drive is kaput. That was not very good, because without it, you can't install it. So I had to open my PC. I have no idea why this is kaput again, because you know what? DVD drives and CD drives have continuously broken on me over the years, and it doesn't matter whether you use them a lot or not. I don't know, maybe I should use them more, I have no idea, but nowadays you don't have much use for those, except you do something like I do now, and that is install a simulator from the DVD drive. And the thing is now, it needs to be there, because you can't start the simulator if you FS-2020. You can't start it without the DVD. By the way, the same for the X-Plane if you use the DVD edition, and you do not have an internet key. I happen to have both, because I actually bought an internet license for X-Plane. Then, because I had a very slow internet, it took ages, and I just wasn't able to get X-Plane downloaded. I had 2 Mbits. That was the old times. You know, I have X-Plane now for many years. So I actually got myself on eBay. I got myself a second-hand X-Plane 11 box, and yeah. So basically now I would need to have the DVD in there every time I run X-Plane. But because I also purchased the full internet version, I can now activate it per internet. This is not possible in FS-2020, so I'm now forced to have a DVD in the drive, and that means if the drive goes kaput, I need to very quickly try and replace it, because otherwise I can't play FS-2020. Why that is in these days, and if maybe there's a way around that, I'm going to say, I'm not talking about breaking or hacking it, but I'm talking about maybe there is a setting. Because I have given a key, I have activated all this Xbox gaming stuff that Microsoft has. I don't understand why I need to have a DVD in the drive for that. What exactly is that to achieve? Yeah, anyway, We shall see. So I found an old DVD drive in a PC that I was almost, well, I had it almost brought to the dump or to the recycling, basically, because we can't dump these things here in Germany. And I actually built out the old DVD drive. I stuck it in there. It worked. So I now have a DVD drive, but it is very slow for some reason. It took me a whole day to get FS-2020 installed. Yeah, but it is installed now, and I installed it on this one drive, which is the simulator drive now. And what you can see is there's an Explain folder. There's a program files. That's new. Okay, modifiable Windows apps. There's a prepared version 5 folder, and then there is several things that I partly can't go into. And that's this. This has all to do with Windows. So Windows litters your disk with folders. FS packages. That is the one where your official installation of FS-2020 is on. And there's a community folder. Interesting. There's where you, for example, put in community content such as liveries, which are now popping up left, right, and center for the A320 and for other aircraft. And the other thing I did is there is this FS-2020 cache. The way this works is that when you run FS-2020, you get the option to cache everything that downloads. For some reason, they put this to 0. And the experience that I've now seen and also read about is that if this is 0, you might actually end up with slideshow kind of behavior or a lot of interruptions in the stream, because it then probably dumps stuff that it downloads in memory, and then it has to do that every time. And for whatever reasons, in some places or in some videos also, I have seen that you get a very awful performance out of that. If you put in a couple of gigabytes, it doesn't have to be 157. There's another reason why I did that. Then that's over. So get yourself a few gigabytes. You don't need that much. 6 or 8 gigabytes is enough. Just enough so that it can cache what it's downloading scenery-wise and the likes. My hope that, well, I hope that I understood this cache properly. My understanding is, if I, for example, start up the simulator, I place myself in Munich and I have activated the download of Bing Auto photo data. What it does is it dumps all this data into this cache. And by the way, it creates the whole 150 gigabytes that I gave it in one big file, trying to probably also, and that's why it's good that I started on a new disk, although with the SSD it's not so important. With older hard drives it is, that it gets continuous disk space, or like the sectors and all that on the hard drive, that it's continuous, because that is a speed thing. The less hops it has to do, the faster your stuff is written and read from this file. So it actually reserves all the 150 gigabytes that I gave it, and I have no idea now how full it is. I can only see that on my very first tests yesterday night, I downloaded a couple of 100 megabytes, and that probably contains Munich. And my hope is now that every time I start in Munich, and I will probably use Munich a lot, because that is my base, try and fly base and all that, I do not need to download those ortho imagery again and again and again and again. That's my hope, that this is what this cache is for. That's why I gave it quite a bit of space, in the hope that that will reduce the amount of internet activity that I have with every session that I do. This is, I think, a cache that is rolling, meaning that if it's full, if the 150 gigs have been reached, it will start kicking out the oldest content. Yeah. So that's it. I'm trying to keep brief, so 15 minutes. So here you can see it now. Still 1 terabyte free on my volume D. I'm still kind of shifting and arranging add-ons and sceneries for all 3 simulators. The goal is that this will not grow substantially. For X-Plane, I have already developed a couple of strategies how I can achieve that. With sceneries, it already works because you can use symbolic links and it links then to stuff here. For aircraft, which can be quite substantial too, especially those payware add-ons from Flight Factor and so on, you easily get a couple of gigabytes, gigabyte or so if you have the 757 and the 767 and so on. So they are big, and it's the sum, you know, all your freeware and payware aircraft, they do collect, and they can easily be a couple of 10 gigabytes, which I have now found a way to also put on one of the other disks and then use a hard link for the aircraft folder. The aircraft folder in X-Plane has the advantage that it finds aircraft that are deep down in the folder structure. In sceneries or libraries, it cannot do this for some reason, but there you can use symbolic links. Not for libraries though. Libraries have to be live where they have to be in the custom scenery folder. I'm going to go into details about that in another video. So yeah, that's it. Goal achieved. My 3 simulators are installed. They are now in their basic versions. Also X-Plane, I've cleaned up X-Plane drastically. So what we have here on Drive F is a almost completely stripped down version. I already put in my standard plugins again. Oh, by the way, so I can quickly show you, this is now my latest setup. So things have changed. That's the new SSD and the 4 terabyte BarraCuda, and one of the old 2 terabyte FireCuda HDDs are still in there. The other one is at the moment outside. I'm going to get a box where I can slide it in and then connect it to the box so that I can maybe use it for backup or other purposes. And I did not have to do a Windows update, although I was told that I would have to be on 2004. That was not necessary to run the simulator, but it will install it anyway. I've already got the first stage of the Windows updates forced on me, and I'm pretty sure 2004 will be following very soon. I also did not have to update the NVIDIA driver, because I was told that you have to have the latest NVIDIA driver or otherwise your sim crashes. Now, I've been reading about that. I am on a very old version. I'm actually not sure how old it is, but it is old. It's definitely old. It's at least a year, if not even a year and a half old, because I'm not updating drivers. Once I found a driver that works and that does not cause any crashes, I leave it. I do not update every single driver version, because what happens is it goes well 3 times, 4th time you are in trouble. And then you have to use restoration points and other things and download other drivers, hope that they fix the problem. And in the meantime, your simulator is not working. I had this so often that I'm really fed up with this NVIDIA driver stuff. So once I have a version that works, I leave it. And I did not touch it, although I was told I have to. I didn't touch it, and it works. Everything works. And I read actually that people had similar issues, crashed to desktop due to NVIDIA, and they went back to an older version, and now it works. Other people have the other type of experience. They had an older version, it didn't work, so they had to update. If it works, leave it. Do not always change things. You know, never change a winning team unless you have to. And that's the same here. So yeah, this is basically now my current setup for X-Plane, for FS-2020, and for the P3D. In P3D, I currently have not installed yet, but I'm going to do this today, FSUI PC version 6 and SODE. And for FS-2020, there is FSUI PC 7, but I already realized that every tool that uses SimConnect magically works. So littlenavmap works, Navigraph charts has been updated to work, and FS-FlightControl, I haven't tested it yet, but according to the developer, with the latest patch that automatically installed, it should work too. So when it comes to my mapping tools, my favorite ones, they all work, and including SimToolkitPro, which is also supposed to work. So looking good there. And for everything that needs FSUI PC, for example, my Bene overlay for the streaming, I still have to test this with FS-2020. FSUI PC should take care of that, I hope. Okay, that's it. Thank you for watching, and until next time.